The rain had already soaked through his jacket by the time he reached the front entrance of the hotel. Luxury cars lined the street, while wealthy guests stepped onto the red carpet beneath glowing golden lights. Men in expensive suits laughed loudly beside women covered in diamonds and designer perfume. Then there was him. One small black duffel bag hanging from his shoulder. Worn sneakers. Faded jeans. A face nobody recognized. People stared for only a second before looking away again, because in places like this, poor-looking people were treated like part of the background. Invisible. But one woman noticed him immediately. And within the next few minutes, the decision she made in front of everyone would destroy her reputation, cost her millions of dollars, and leave an entire hotel frozen in silence. Because the man she humiliated in public was hiding a secret so shocking that even the hotel manager nearly panicked when he realized who was standing outside in the rain. Vanessa Whitmore was the kind of woman people admired from a distance and feared up close. Millions followed her online. She sold luxury real estate to celebrities, athletes, and billionaire investors across America. Every photo she posted looked perfect. Private jets, champagne dinners, penthouse suites overlooking city skylines. To the public, she represented success. But employees who worked around her described something completely different. They said Vanessa treated kindness like weakness. She believed powerful people deserved special treatment, while ordinary people existed only to serve them. And that night, standing outside one of Chicago's most expensive hotels, she was about to reveal exactly who she had become. Before we go deeper into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The man slowly approached the hotel entrance while rainwater dripped from his sleeves onto the marble walkway. A valet glanced at him briefly before returning his attention to a silver Rolls-Royce pulling toward the curb. Cameras flashed instantly. Vanessa Whitmore stepped out wearing a cream-colored designer coat and diamond earrings that reflected against the hotel lights. Employees rushed forward to greet her. She smiled proudly as guests whispered her name. Then her eyes landed on the man standing quietly near the entrance. Her expression changed immediately. She looked him up and down with visible disgust before leaning toward one of her friends and laughing loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "Sir," she said mockingly, "the homeless shelter is 3 blocks away." Several people laughed nervously. One man even pulled out his phone to record the moment. The doorman smirked. The valet looked uncomfortable, but the stranger never reacted. He simply stood there calmly as rain fell around him. Vanessa crossed her arms and took another step forward. "You can't just stand here looking like that while guests are arriving," she continued. "People come here to feel safe." More laughter followed. The crowd assumed he would either apologize or walk away embarrassed. That was usually how these moments ended. Wealthy people humiliate someone publicly. Everyone laughs for a few seconds. Then life continues. But something about the man's calmness began making people uneasy. He showed no anger, no shame, no panic. He looked directly at Vanessa and quietly said, "I am a guest." She laughed harder this time. "At this hotel?" she asked. "Do you even know what one night costs here?" The crowd waited for his answer. Phones kept recording. Then the man looked around slowly before speaking again. "No," he said softly, "but I know what it costs to lose dignity." The atmosphere shifted instantly. Some people stopped smiling. Even Vanessa looked surprised for a second. But instead of backing down, she doubled down harder. "Men like you always try sounding wise when you're broke," she replied coldly. The valet finally stepped closer, clearly wanting the situation to end before it became worse. "Sir," he asked politely, "do you have a reservation?" The man nodded and reached into his pocket. What happened next changed everything. He handed the valet a black titanium card engraved with 2 small silver initials. EC. The valet's face lost color immediately. His eyes widened. His hands actually began trembling as he stared down at the card. Because months earlier, senior staff had been warned privately about a specific guest. If a man carrying that card ever arrived at the property, management was to be notified immediately. The valet swallowed hard before straightening his posture completely. "Welcome back, Mr. Carter," he whispered respectfully. Silence spread through the entrance like electricity. Vanessa blinked in confusion. "Excuse me?" she asked sharply. Before anyone could answer, the hotel doors suddenly burst open. The general manager came rushing outside so fast that several guests stepped out of his way. "Mr. Carter," he said nervously while extending his hand, "we didn't know you were arriving tonight." Every employee near the entrance immediately stood upright. The doorman who had smirked moments earlier suddenly looked terrified. Vanessa stared at the stranger in disbelief as people nearby began whispering. Some searched his name online. Others kept recording. "Your penthouse suite is ready, sir." The manager continued respectfully. Vanessa forced an awkward laugh. "Wait," she said. "You own this place?" Ethan Carter looked at her calmly. "A small part of it," he answered. What she didn't know was that he secretly owned the entire hotel through a private investment company. The manager's face looked tense because he understood exactly how disastrous this moment could become if the videos spread online. "I deeply apologize for how you were treated, sir," he said quickly. Vanessa instantly changed her tone. Her voice softened. Her posture changed. Suddenly, she sounded polite. "Well," she laughed nervously, "this is obviously just a misunderstanding." Ethan looked directly into her eyes for several long seconds before replying quietly. "No," he said. It was a revelation. The sentence hit harder than shouting ever could. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Vanessa's confident smile weakened for the first time that night. "People joke around," she replied defensively. Ethan nodded slowly. "No," he answered calmly. "People reveal themselves." Inside the hotel lobby, whispers spread everywhere within minutes. Guests searched Ethan Carter's name and quickly discovered he was one of the wealthiest private investors in America. His company quietly owned luxury hotels, commercial skyscrapers, private aviation firms, and technology companies worth billions of dollars. Yet almost nobody recognized his face because Ethan avoided publicity completely. Unlike most billionaires, he rarely attended interviews, never posted online, and intentionally traveled without security or designer clothing. But there was another reason he dressed simply, and when Vanessa learned the truth behind it, the guilt began crushing her. Ethan had grown up poor in Detroit with a single mother who cleaned hotel bathrooms for wealthy guests. He remembered watching people ignore her existence while she worked long, exhausting hours to keep food on the table. Some guests treated her kindly. Others treated her like furniture, invisible unless they needed something. Those memories stayed with Ethan long after he became rich. Over time, he developed a habit. Every few months, he traveled anonymously to places his companies owned without warning staff beforehand. No expensive suits, no assistants, no security team, just ordinary clothing and silence. He wanted to see how people treated strangers when they believed there was nothing to gain from them. And what he saw that night outside the hotel confirmed something painful about human nature. Vanessa followed him through the lobby, trying desperately to repair the situation before it became worse. "I think we got off on the wrong foot," she said while forcing a smile. Ethan stopped walking beside the massive crystal chandelier hanging above the marble floor. "Interesting," he replied calmly. "What is?" she asked. Ethan turned toward her slightly. "You only became kind after money entered the conversation." Vanessa hesitated before responding carefully. "Appearances matter in my industry." Ethan nodded slowly. "I agree," he said. Then he pointed toward the employees working around them. "The janitor who smiled at me outside earlier will receive a promotion tomorrow. The valet who treated me respectfully before knowing who I was will receive a bonus." Vanessa's face tightened. Ethan's expression hardened slightly for the first time all night. But people who humiliate strangers to entertain crowds eventually destroy themselves. Those words stayed in Vanessa's head long after he disappeared into the private elevator leading toward the penthouse suite. Because deep down, she knew he was right. And unfortunately for her, the worst part of the night had not even started yet. Several investors had witnessed the confrontation outside the hotel entrance. One of them happened to be negotiating an $80 million development project with Vanessa's company. By the time she entered the private restaurant upstairs, the atmosphere felt cold and uncomfortable. Conversations stopped when she walked into the room. One investor finally broke the silence. "Vanessa," he asked carefully, "is it true you mocked Ethan Carter outside?" Her stomach tightened immediately. "The video was taken out of context," she answered quickly. Another investor shook his head while placing his phone on the table. Millions of people had already seen the clips online. Comments flooded social media faster than anyone expected. Money exposes character. She respected him only after learning he was rich. The billionaire behaved with more class than the millionaire. Vanessa felt panic rising in her chest as she realized her public image was collapsing in real time. But the next question hurt even more than the headlines. An older investor leaned back slowly before speaking. "If that's how you treat someone you think is powerless in public," he asked quietly, "how do you treat employees behind closed doors?" Nobody defended her. Nobody argued. The room had already judged her completely, not because she insulted a billionaire, but because she revealed how easily she could humiliate someone she believed had no value. And wealthy investors hate public scandals connected to arrogance because arrogance creates expensive problems. That night, the $80 million deal disappeared silently. No screaming, no dramatic argument, just gone. Meanwhile, Ethan sat alone in the penthouse suite overlooking the Chicago skyline, while rain continued falling across the city below. The hotel manager apologized repeatedly for what happened outside. But Ethan asked only one question. "How many employees here are afraid of wealthy guests?" The manager hesitated too long before answering, and that silence told Ethan everything he needed to know. The following morning, Vanessa requested a private meeting with Ethan before he left the city. Surprisingly, he agreed. She entered the penthouse looking completely different from the woman who stood outside the hotel entrance the night before. No cameras followed her. No designer attitude. No performance. Just exhaustion. "I owe you an apology," she admitted quietly. Ethan nodded once before responding. "But not because I'm rich." Vanessa lowered her eyes immediately. Somehow that sentence hurt more than humiliation. She sat silently for several seconds before speaking again. "You don't understand how competitive my world is," she whispered. Ethan walked toward the massive windows overlooking downtown Chicago. "I understand perfectly," he replied. "People become addicted to status. Eventually, they stop seeing human beings and start seeing categories. Rich, poor, important, useless." Vanessa looked down at her hands without speaking. For the first time in years, she had no clever response ready. Then Ethan revealed something he almost never discussed publicly. "When I was 19, he said quietly, my mother cleaned hotel bathrooms to feed us." Vanessa looked stunned. "People humiliated her constantly," he continued. "Some guests wouldn't even look her in the eyes." His voice remained calm, but there was pain underneath every word. "That's why I never forgot one simple rule." He turned toward Vanessa slowly. "The real measure of a person is how they treat someone who can do nothing for them." Vanessa felt tears forming in her eyes, and it shocked her because she realized something terrible in that moment. She had spent years building the image of a successful woman while slowly becoming someone empty inside. Success had made her admired publicly but colder privately. She remembered the laughter outside the hotel entrance, the crowd, the cameras, the look on Ethan's face when everyone mocked him. And for the first time in years, she felt ashamed of herself. Weeks later, the video still circulated across the internet. Millions continued debating the confrontation. But something unexpected happened afterward. Vanessa began changing quietly. She raised wages inside her company, started funding scholarships for hotel workers and janitors. Employees noticed she treated service staff differently, softer, more human. Some people believed the damage to her reputation forced the change. Others believed guilt finally broke through years of arrogance. Maybe it was both. As for Ethan Carter, he continued traveling anonymously across America exactly as before. Simple clothes, quiet entrances, no security. Still observing how people behave when they think nobody important is watching. Because over the years, he learned one painful truth about human nature. The richest people in the room are not always the loudest. And the poorest souls often hide behind expensive suits, luxury cars, and public applause. Wealth does not create character. It reveals it. And the night Vanessa Whitmore humiliated a poor man outside a luxury hotel, she thought she was mocking someone weak. In reality, she exposed herself. The terrifying part is this. Every single day, ordinary people reveal who they truly are through moments they believe nobody will remember. A waiter, a cleaner, a stranger standing quietly in the rain. Most people never realize their character is being tested until the consequences arrive. And by then, it is already too late. If stories like this keep you thinking long after the end, subscribe for more real-life mysteries where one small moment changes everything.